You're listening to Tony Graham here on Binjang 91.5, and it's time for Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Good afternoon, Matthew.
Hey, good afternoon, Tony. Great to be chatting to you again.
Well, the first thing I've got to say is whoops. Whoops. Because Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they went down in a global outage. And how did they inform the world they were having problems, do you know? Because I hadn't heard about it.
Yeah, and it's one that I'm sure another social media channel would be rubbing its hands together of this fact. So it basically had some problems around about 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I know it doesn't sound like there'd be a lot of social media usage at that particular time, but people are working on social media or using social media all around the clock. And so some complaints started flooding in around 4:30 Saturday morning, and there was some Facebook messages coming back that a group of developers were told that Facebook were aware of an outage, and that affected the whole developer platform products, and they're working to resolve it, which effectively took out Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, as you said. About 6 a.m, Facebook advised the problem had finally been resolved. So effectively, probably an hour and a half where those particular social media sites were down, were out, you couldn't use them, or if they were responding, it was very poor response. But ironically, the Twitter account for WhatsApp shared the news that they were back up and running again. So it was quite amusing that when you've got some of those big social media sites, the Facebooks of the world, for example, and they've got to turn to one of their competitors, but one of their competitors to inform the world that everything's right again, you can come back over and start using Instagram again, then I'm sure the executives of Twitter saw that as a very nice tweet put out through their network.
Yeah. Now, we've had talks about Huawei in the past 12 months, a fair bit actually, because they got banned by the United States. Huawei, the concern being, of course, that the development of 5G, the supply of equipment for 5G networks in countries like Australia was considered to be a security risk, and many others throughout the world followed suit, particularly in the Five Eyes community, which includes Australia. So what's their new plan in the marketplace to generate profits?
Yeah, they needed to come up with a new plan, Tony, because you're right, they were placed on the list of banned entities held by the US Department of Commerce, and that didn't make it illegal to sell Huawei phones, but it just made certain other companies in America not able to work with them. So, for example, Google, you couldn't have the Play Store on a Huawei phone. So anyone that bought a phone that had Android on it, then you want to be able to use the Play Store to download apps, and you couldn't use that, then the phone became basically a phone. So it wasn't much good for a smartphone. And you're right, we have banned them here in Australia in terms of our 5G rollout. But Huawei has been working very hard on its 5G processors, and they've actually been a bit of a pioneer in that 5G space. So about 20% of all the 5G patents across the world are held by Huawei. So what they're planning on doing now is all of the manufacturers that are selling phones with 5G, so the Samsungs, the Apples, all the manufacturers out there making 5G phones, which is pretty much all of them, they're going to start saying, sure, you can use these patents in there, but you're going to start to pay us some money for that. And it's not unusual for that to happen. So, for example, Qualcomm, who often make modems for some of the phones, Nokia are the same, they make some components that are in many phones, and they'll charge the various manufacturers to use some of those components. Qualcomm ran a bit of a battle with Apple in previous years where they were charging $7.50 per phone for the patent fees. Now, it doesn't seem like much when those phones are selling for a couple of $1,000s in some cases, but that was a bit of a legal battle that went on. Huawei have said that they'll only be charging about US $2.50 for some of the patents that will be used in there, but that's the plan for them to go forward and still be a profitable company, take advantage of all the patents they've got there now and generate some income from that. It's not quite as attractive at $2.50 per phone, Tony, compared to actually selling the phones themselves, but they had to have some backup plan, and this is it.
Well, it's quite laughable, excuse me, when you consider how China's been hijacking software and also copying or using patented technology without paying. And that's a big controversy between the United States and China. So it's interesting, isn't it, how you look at things?
Well, when the shoe's on the other foot, sometimes people change their tune, Tony.
Yeah, They do. They're taking advantage of things both ways.
Yeah.
Now, so a question we don't really talk about very much is to do with gaming software. But manufacturer Grand Theft Auto, they're not willing to fix a known annoying problem, are they?
Well, they haven't been in the past, and when you say not willing to fix it, I'm sure they would have liked to have fixed it, but they just haven't put the I suppose resources into fixing this particular problem. Now, you kind of think, well, why bother? Grand Theft Auto has been one of the most popular pieces of media for probably the last 8 years. And Grand Theft Auto, or GTA as it's often called, GTA Online, the multiplayer version of it, has been incredibly popular, but incredibly frustrating because it's so slow to load when you start the game. And one of the particular fans, a huge fan of it, is a bit code savvy, so he went looking through all the code when it actually starts up, and he found a way to reduce the loading times for GTA Online by about 70%. So the manufacturer didn't or couldn't do it. People have been playing it and putting up with it. This particular fan said, it's not good enough for me. I'm going to go and fix this problem. And it's been such a good fix that the publisher of the game, Rockstar, has announced that that fix will actually be rolled out in an upcoming update. So pretty impressive for that fan to actually get some acknowledgement there. But he got more than some acknowledgement. He's actually getting paid US $10,000 for that little fix. Now, there is something that GTA Online or Rockstar have in their normal terms and conditions. They actually pay a bug bounty. So if you can find a bug or a security issue in the actual game itself, they pay you $10,000 for your troubles, which is a great concept from them. They've got lots of people out there, lots of keen gamers looking through trying to find any problems with it. Now, this technically wasn't a bug and it wasn't a security issue, but the company was so impressed they said, we'll pay you the $10,000 bug bounty because it was such an impressive bit of work that you did. So I thought that was pretty good. So for all those keen gamers out there, if you're playing around some games and you want to fix something up, then some of those manufacturers will actually look with some sort of smile, if you like, on what you're doing to try and improve their game for them.
Well, that's very clever and also very useful. So good on them for doing that.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Binjang 91.5 with Matthew Dickerson and Tech Talk. Now listen next week, same times in the morning and in the afternoon. And for now, though, it's back to all the great music and information on Binjang 91.5.
Talk to you next week, Tony.
See you, Matthew.